kicking off the meeting, please?
Sure. This morning, as in almost every Rotary meeting, there's things that we formally do. But in our new environment here, we've kind of narrowed it down to beginning the meeting with the ringing of a bell and closing the meeting with the ringing of a bell, along with the four-way test, which Dan has heard things about before. But anyway,
There we go.
we'll come to order. Phil.
The meeting is underway. Actually, all I would like to do this morning is mention who's attending. We've got in front of, I'll read some of the names because we're getting a great attendance today, and at least four of the people in front of us are going to be sharing some of the information related to how the school is doing under COVID. Some of you came last year and gave us a great presentation, so I'm hoping we can repeat the success of last year's with this one. So on the screen here, we've got Kelly, we've got Margaret. This year we have Bobby and Jennifer. And I don't mind who starts first and who takes over, but feel free to just start the meeting with anybody wanting to lead and tell us what's going on, and we'll be really interested. Let me know in advance if you'd like to share a screen. If you've got something you'd like to share with me, I'll turn that on. I normally leave it off in case, just to avoid any of those Zoom bombers. So I don't turn it on unless you ask me, and then I can turn it off again when you're done.
Well, I would like to kick it off if you wouldn't mind, because
absolutely.
The last time that we met you, we have a new interim superintendent.
Yes.
So we have Dr. Bobby Hayes Goodrum here, and she has been serving and leading us since January of 2021 in the middle of a pandemic, and she's done a fabulous job, and we're so grateful that she's leading us through this very difficult time.
Yeah, very difficult.
But that, I just wanted to make sure you knew that. And then Bobby, I don't know if you want to kick it off from there.
Oh, sure. That's great. And prior to becoming the interim superintendent, I actually was selected to be the assistant superintendent for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I believe that took place in September, where that was solidified by the board. But prior to that, for 13 years, I have been a principal in this district. I have worked exclusively with our students who have more significant special needs, more complicated needs. So I've worked with our population that we say SXI, which means severely multiply impaired. Once upon a time, we had a whole school dedicated to that at Cloverdale. So that's where I started. And that school serviced students from the ages of 3 all the way to the age of 26. And eventually we closed Cloverdale down and serviced all of our students within our schools. So that they could have access to their peers. And so then I was the principal of Visions, which is our building for students who are between the ages of 18 and 26 with mild to severe cognitive and physical impairments. And at some time, I also was the president of Fisher. We had Fisher for a minute, and while that was in the process of closing. So I've been here for a while.
Welcome.
Of the community, but this is my very first time coming to Rotary. Are we just doing, should we just go? I'd like to kick it over, if I can, to Dr. Kelly Coffin, who is our assistant superintendent for innovation and strategic initiatives.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Good morning. It's so good to see you all. Miss Hendrickson wasn't able to make it today. She had another appointment, but so I just wanted to take some time along with Dr. Goodrum and Ms. Kaminsky and Ms. Bauman to kind of give you an overview of where we are, kind of the state of education during pandemic learning here at Farmington. So I think the last time we were here, we talked a lot about the work that our teachers were doing to really transition into a fully remote educational system. And as we were talking about before the meeting, that this is a newer mode of instructional delivery for our educators, not only individually, but certainly collectively as a system. So I'll just say I am absolutely floored at the new learning that has happened with the adults in the system to really now be able to look at technology as a tool to enhance and extend learning, not just something that they feel they were forced into. So, today is a big day in our education world because this was the day 1 year ago that we all were informed that schools were closing. And if you think about that, we went into this as a mindset that it would just be for a couple weeks.
Yes.
Well, here we are. So a significant day for our entire country, certainly, but for educators in particular, that was the day that our entire professional life turned on a dime.
Yep.
And we were expected to change everything about our instruction. So we have been, again, so proud of our educators and the work that they have done to be able to build their skill set in working with our students. And just to give you an idea of that, once as you know, in September, we started to bringing back some of our more vulnerable populations, such as our students with significant needs, as well as our youngest learners, our 3 to 5 year olds in our preschool programming. And we did that successfully with our mitigation strategies in our plan. And we're very proud of that. As a matter of fact, we had our plan approved by Oakland County Health Division, and they said it was one of the best in the county that they had seen. As far as the investment of our district in making sure people were safe, our students were safe, and our staff were safe. So we had, as you know, October, November, community spread went a little higher than we liked, and that impacts the schools. So we had to shut down temporarily. The governor then shut down all secondary schools through December. And then we came back in our hybrid model in January 11th for our K-5 population, and then January 25th for our 6-12. Moving forward now, we are looking forward to our March 22nd new date, where we will now bring back our students in person for at least 20 hours. And so we are really excited about that, even though that causes a lot of logistical work on our end to scramble, hence why we were meeting at 7 a.m. this morning with administrators. But again, I think it's really been a great process as we talk with teachers and their comfort level with how to move this forward. The idea of everybody wants our kids back. And so as was shared Tuesday evening at the board meeting, we're really proud to say that all of our parents, for the most part, who want in-person instruction have been getting in-person instruction. And we continue to accommodate families as we can. There's been, prior to this March 22nd, maybe a handful of families that we were trying to figure out how we could accommodate them. But now that we will be relaxing, again, only the social distancing piece and keeping all of our other layered mitigation in place, we're confident that any parent who wants in-person instruction will be able to do that. So we're really happy about that. So what we're doing is offering that choice to our families, which I know is important, as well as expanding the amount of time. And when we expand the amount of time for our in-person students, it also expands the amount of time we can spend one-on-one with our students who choose fully remote. So that's been our work right now. Moving forward for next year, we recognize that there are families, and I think Dr. Goodwin was sharing one example with her own child about how the remote learning environment does actually work for some of our learners. So we will continue to offer a fully remote option for our learners in the fall. So we will have in person, but we will also, and we'll actually have a couple of different paths. We have a remote path right now where our teachers are working and kids follow a schedule, but we also offer a more self-paced, more personalized approach through our virtual learning path. And we have a significant number of our families who have chosen that for that. the self-paced. It works better with their family schedule.
Yep.
Students can learn when it's convenient for them and when they best learn. Some are early risers, some are work better at night, and allows for that personalization to the to how they learn to be available. So we're going to continue actually with all three of those approaches in the fall.
A lot of work.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Sounds great.
It is, but it's important to note, again, we said this a year ago, our teachers went to full remote with no information, no really infrastructure even to accomplish it. Even though we had Google Meets, they had not been using Google Meets in the way that they were used later. And so then after those 2 weeks, and we had spring break, and then they had to come back with really a more structured but still remote system. Then some of them came back in person, a hybrid model. Some teachers are teaching face-to-face and streaming at the same time. You just really have to honor all of the hard work and dedication. And as Dr. Coffin said, the new learning that our teachers have experienced this year, and all the work that they've done to make this process, in whatever form our students are learning, to make sure that they are learning to the best of their ability. So to make it engaging, to ensure that the individual needs of students are being met, and some of our new technologies assist with that, and just to do our very best through this very difficult time.
Yep.
And I don't know, Ms. Kaminsky, if you want to talk about, I mean, this is so exciting. Everyone loves to hear about PPE. Do you want to talk about our PPE, or do you want to talk about our, and maybe some things people have heard about our financial status, our very healthy financial status at this time?
Absolutely. I can talk about finances and the facilities piece. So on the financial side, we have received about $5.5 million of, I guess, coronavirus relief funds. And so we've spent about $3.5 million of that. A lot of it has been spent on PPE, about, I'd say $1.5 million at least. So we have a supply of masks for the entire year for both staff and students. We have desk partitions for each of the levels at elementary and at the secondary buildings. We've put air purifiers in every classroom, as well as large learning spaces. And one of the newer things that we're working on now is we are adding an additional daytime custodian to each building, at least through the end of this school year. We felt that additional supports were needed to clean and sanitize during the day to help support that safe environment for students and staff. And so we are able to use grant funds for those additional positions right now. So some other things that we've been able to use those dollars for are, art supplies and music supplies for students in the virtual learning environment. So we've been able to purchase those items, get them delivered to families to their home for students to use, as well as physical education. We've used a fair amount of the money for software support. So we implemented a learning management system, of which Dr. Coffin can definitely speak and explain that in more detail. But we also have software such as Lexia and Dreambox that help support literacy and math for students. So there are a lot of great programs that have been put in place to try and help support student learning in that virtual environment. So if you also recall, about a year ago, on March 10th of 2020, we passed our bond. And so I know a few of us were sitting at Pages that evening waiting for the results to come in, and happy to hear that our community supported that bond issue for $98 million. But we did not have a lot of time to celebrate that. So the next day it was all into how are we going to go remote. And so we are continuing to, work on that bond. The first stage of projects, our first phase of projects will take place this summer and into the fall. So amongst all of the COVID and all of the work to try and make our schools safe as possible, we've got the bond on the other side that we're working on to keep those projects going as well. So
Right.
Yep.
That was yours.
That was my summary.
Ms. Bowman, and maybe the Rotary Club already knows everything, but I think that one thing that I love about this district is how involved we are with other community organizations within our district, and we're really a part of the community. Would you like to give an update on some of our community collaborations that we have and some things that we have coming up?
All righty. Yes, we've been very, very busy. We have long-standing relationships with the Rotary, the Optimist Club, the Exemplar Club. In fact, this Saturday, the Optimists are hosting their oratorical contest. So we will be listening to students participate in that. I think what other things we have. We have a very active PTA council and strong PTAs and PTSAs at all of our schools, which we're very proud of, very active parents. In fact, we have a group of our parents at the National Legislative Conference virtually this year. Usually they go to Washington and visit the Hill and share their thoughts on what legislators should be looking for in support of students and families. So they have that going on this week. I'm trying to think what other things we have coming up. Well, as you know, we're in the middle of a superintendent search. So there is, this evening, there is a forum for staff to provide input on what they want to, the attributes they're looking for in a next superintendent. Right. And then we have a community forum tonight as well. So that is in full swing. And we have hired the company School Exec Connect to help us do that work. So we'll keep you posted as we move forward and through that process. There's also a survey out right now for those who can't attend the forum, and you can fill out your thoughts about what we should look for in a next superintendent. That's a biggie for us.
And is that on Zoom or something, Dan?
The community forum is, and I can send you the link.
Please do that.
Okay, you just need to sign up, and then they'll send you the link actually, but I'll send you the link to sign up. Okay.
I think Diane, connecting with that is our the kickoff of our strategic planning efforts.
Yeah.
So, even with all of these other things going on, we've kicked off our 8 goal committees. I think 6 of the 8 committees have had their March meeting. I've had the opportunity to be at all of them. We have well over 100 community members involved in these conversations. And really our goal this year, again, because we got a little bit of a later start, is to really open up the conversations and get a better handle on our current state, specifically around all of the things that we know improve organizations. So we're doing everything through the lens of equity and innovation, everything connected to the district priorities that have been set in those 5 areas, and really looking at our organization, our organizational practices, our culture, our systems, and ensuring that everything we are doing is improving the outcomes for each and every child. So I have just thoroughly enjoyed the conversations and hearing from the community and their open and honest dialogue about how, the successes that are in Farmington, but also willing to be problem solvers with us to ensure that we can meet the challenges that we face. So again, another great piece happening connected to our community.
So is that one of the benefits of COVID? You actually can get doing these remote virtual meetings?
Yeah.
There are a lot of silver linings, and that's certainly one of them.
Yeah, every time we have done, we had spotlights at the elementary, middle, and high school. And one of the questions was, what is something that you'd like to take forward after this pandemic? And everyone agreed that at least these though we are very tired, it gets tiresome to stare at your computer screen for 16 hours a day sometimes. But it is very convenient to not have to leave your school building or not have to leave your office, and you can actually kind of, the benefits, it's a gift and a curse. You can stack your meetings more because you don't have to travel from one place to the other. And I guess one other thing I'll just add, in addition to Kelly, just so you, that's Dr. Coffin, just so you all are aware of all the things that we are doing in the midst of this pandemic. We are also going through a very extensive educational equity audit. And so that has really been a year-long process that started out with the district doing some self-assessments, and then schools doing self-assessments. And now we're at a stage where there are focus groups at each school, which also includes community members and students and staff. And we look forward to getting that report this summer. To Dr. Coffin's point, we're doing every single thing we can to ensure that our curriculum, our behaviors, our activities, everything are all intentional to ensure that every single one of our students is successful. And I'm sorry, I see there's a question.
The question from
Phil, okay.
from Peggy. Do you want me to read it to everybody in case they're not looking at their chat?
Please, Phil.
Good
Okay.
morning, Peggy.
I can read it so that everybody knows what the question was. Going back to the expanding in person, I have seen on the Farmington High School Facebook page that there are families expressing interest in having their current remote learners return to in person now that the time is increasing. How will that work? Is that an option for secondary? If we are already combining the A and B students, so potentially doubling class sizes, is there room for additional students to return to in that mix?
And Dr. Coffin can add to this. So when we asked at the beginning, when we returned our secondary students to school in January, we had sent the survey out. We asked them to please commit to either being in person or remote for the entire semester. However, where there is room, whenever schools can accommodate those requests, they certainly will. It is just because even though we have relaxed the social distancing guidelines, we don't want to have 38 students in a classroom. We still have to make sure that our numbers are appropriate to ensure that our students are receiving the education that they deserve. So again, we ask parents to commit, but we are willing to work with every single parent who is interested to do our very best to make that happen.
Yeah, and so just to add on to that, so there won't be a survey going out to all the families. Again, that March 22nd date is pretty quick. So we just ask if families, if something has changed that they now are considering or would like to look at in person, please just contact your building principal. We've been doing this. We have had families. I just worked through some of these issues with the family a couple weeks ago with the building principal where they were able to make it work. So as Dr. Goodrum said, there may be some spaces. So where it's not, we just ask that they work with their building level principals.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
If I could just add a few things that I did forget to address. And Dr. Goodrum had mentioned that, our financial picture right now is we are in a good fiscal state.
Right.
And so last year, as we were setting our budget for the current year that we're in, the economy did not look well at all. And so we plan to lose $650 per pupil last year, as well as that continuing into this fiscal year. And so we made reductions to our budget to try and get us to a better state of operations. And so luckily that wasn't needed. And so we are in a good fiscal state. We have many things to look at though. So amidst all of this, all of our bargaining unit contracts will be expiring at June 30. So we're beginning the process of negotiations with all groups. And then we also are looking at how do we allocate our resources going forward. So we have the equity audit that may drive additional programs or supports. We've got the strategic planning process that may drive different programs, maybe different needs. And we're working with the Board of Education on priorities that they may have. So we're confident and excited that we're in this good fiscal state so that we can use, these the strategic planning and the equity audit to help drive some of the improvements that we need, that we can make moving forward. So, and there is additional federal dollars that are going to be available soon. There's been some back and forth at the legislative level. I know the governor did just sign a package, but there's some uncertainty as to, I guess, whether the money will be distributed, whether you have to meet certain requirements. So we're still waiting for guidance, but that's about $2.4 million that will help us support summer programming, additional student needs going into the future. So, and then of course, as everyone knows, the federal government just passed another stimulus package, COVID package. And so we anticipate that there'll be more federal funding for schools available through that.
Excellent.
Thank you.
As Jennifer, as Ms. Kaminsky noted and spoke about board priorities, I'd like to also acknowledge our board president, Mrs. Weems, who is on the call. And I would just like to say that just again, as people have expressed concerns about the state of our district, I think we have a wonderful board right now. They have been working very collaboratively together with each other and also with us. And so we are really moving forward. We've been able to move forward. And I know that there's a negative narrative out there about our school district right now, but I want to make sure that everyone is aware that all our students are learning. Our students are showing growth through our measurements, our various measurements. Our students are showing growth. We have a number of supports in place for them to work on their anyone who is experiencing mental health concerns. So we are assisting our families as our families are in need. So we're really taking a whole child, whole family, whole community approach to the way that we have been working through this pandemic to just ensure that Farmington Public Schools, but also the Farmington Hills community comes out of this situation stronger.
I noticed that Diane mentioned having a robust summer learning experience. Does that mean that the kids could go back to school during the summer so that they can theoretically catch up with what they supposedly have missed?
Yes, and we always offer a variety of summer programming options. What we're doing is expanding those K-12 and really taking into consideration the type of learning that many of our teachers and our students have been part of, and really expanding opportunities for more hands-on opportunities, more choice, and again, just creating those environments where kids can safely have some of that socialization back. Because even when we bring students back in person, because of all the safety and mitigation, there's not as much socialization as I think they're accustomed to. So we want to provide some outdoor learning opportunities, use many of our buildings, and actually, cover much of the cost of these programs for our families, so that doesn't become a barrier.
Bobby was saying, I think, that her son was using I don't know if you call it on-demand learning, but to me, on-demand is a way where you can go to a site and choose your lesson and go through it in your own time, at your own time. Is that the kind of thing that will be offered as well?
That will be. I know one of the things that we're looking for, especially for our high school learners, is opportunity to maybe do some credit recovery if they struggled through this semester, but also credit replacement. And so we normally do that. So if students want to take some of those, like you said, that on-demand learning, and be able to then open up their schedule for more in-person courses for their next school year, we want to provide that opportunity as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Can someone speak to the idea of how counseling is handling the adjustment into the lack of face-to-face learning as history would have it. How is it working now? How do students get the counseling they need and the testing that it needs to be done in order to satisfy university expectations for the graduates out of our district?
That's a great question. So our counselors have set up opportunities for students to request individual appointments virtually. Our counselors are also now back in person available for our students. So we've had those resources available to students throughout this entire time, but again, just using technology to help support that. In regards to our testing, we did offer the SAT to our seniors and juniors who needed that. We will continue to offer those state assessments in person. We have many state assessments that we are still working to offer, and those do have to be in person. So we're going to continue to offer those opportunities. Many of the colleges and universities are still using their flexibility to waive some of these scores for our students as well. But we are continuing to offer the opportunity for those who want it. I think we have 60 juniors coming in the next couple of weeks to take the SAT as that they have requested to do. So we're still meeting all of those needs. And even for our students with suspected disabilities, we have been doing all of those assessments as well to ensure that they do not have a gap in service if they do indeed qualify for additional supports.
And I have to mention, when we are able to gather again, we are going to invite you all to our open house at our new early learning center. So the Farmington Early Childhood Center, we used to have 2 early childhood centers in our district. And through the 2015 bond, we were able to improve our site at Alameda and combine them for efficiency. And the space for our early learners just turned out fabulous. And it is certainly a jewel in our district, and it's a great way for our families to start with us. So we'll invite you to our open house when we can safely gather again, because we're very excited to have everyone see it. And thanks.
We'll take you up on that.
Okay.
Any other questions? So far, this has been fantastic, as usual. You guys are so good at this. So great team, awesome team.
Oh, thank you.
Daily practice proves better than weekly practice, Phil.
That is not, there's never been a truer statement. And just to kind of capture that too, we do have a wonderful team. And I just tell anybody that will listen, the knowledge, the expertise, and the skill across the organization is absolutely incredible. And this is everybody rolls up their sleeves and everybody is in this work. But the best part of it is just the skill and the commitment and the dedication from it at every single level of the organization is truly something to be commended.
I think we can see that from here.
If you wouldn't mind, if I could just add that I'm Terry Weems, and I am this year's president of the Board of Education. I've been on the board for about, I'm in my 6th year now.
Welcome, Terry.
Thank you. I just wanted to commend the district, from a governance perspective. We've been looking on, we've had to make some tough decisions. This has been a year of change. We've in how we learn. We've had a change in our central office staff. We've had a change in superintendent. We've got 4 new board members. We've got a change on our board as well. And, I'm noticing that throughout this whole process, the whole system has had to pivot multiple times. I'm noticing throughout all of that innovation, I'm noticing resilience. I'm noticing, proactiveness in addition to the need to be able to react to the changing circumstances over the course of the last year. And I couldn't be more proud to be part of the system. So just wanted to share that this group is really doing a great job.
No, I'm glad to hear that, Terry. That's really good. Well, we'll just put, before you jump in, Stanley, I'll just state to everybody else, we are recording this meeting. So later on this morning, a little early this afternoon, the recording of this meeting will be available on our website. So if somebody asks you about kinds of things that were said, you can point them to our website. There's a virtual meeting library, and you will be able to they'll be able to watch this and get the information from you clearly on this screen. Stan, you were going to ask a question, I think.
Yes, I am reading the absorbing book of Lies My Teacher Taught Me. I wonder if you folks are aware of that book and how the textbooks that get accepted into the United States, first of all, by the Texas School Board, are watered down. And so that, as children learn about the founding of our country, Columbus, and his history and his 3 ships. But before Columbus, there were Scandinavians. Before Columbus, there were Spanish settlers. And we don't learn, I didn't learn, that Columbus, as he spoke highly of the quality of humans that he found here, the natives, he enslaved them, treated them horribly. What I learned in school was very watered down, leave out the difficult parts. How could a citizen know if he wanted to be exposed to the quality of reading that the student gets? Does the student get a robust knowledge, or is it a pablum type of school book? That's my question.
I am so glad that you asked that question, because that is the primary focus of the educational equity audit. So one of the things that we're looking at is the accuracy and the language that is used in our textbooks. For instance, like the idea of say referring to enslaved people as migrants, as some textbooks have started to do. Within our FPS proclamation that our board approved, I believe in August was the final approval date, they have made a statement that for Farmington Public Schools, we are no longer honoring that first Monday in October as Columbus Day, but we are calling it Indigenous Peoples Day, as many places have done throughout. And so you are right. Oftentimes, many people have been taught what we would consider to be a revisionist history, and history is always written by the victor in any situation. But there's a lot of work being done nationally to rectify that, to ensure that all the texts that our students receive do contain very accurate and thorough information about some of the elements that are involved in the founding and the building of our great nation.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bobby.
We are aware of it, and we are addressing it in our district right now currently.
It's a serious matter.
It is.
We need truth. We need truth in our schools.
We absolutely do.
Okay. Any other questions? I don't mean to cut this off any earlier, but Lynn, do you want to take us to the end here?
Sure. I think the conversation today and the previous one makes us as Rotary in the community feel good about the health of our district and overall how things are being handled and doing the right thing. So I'll just say a word about my background here that's up behind my picture. Everywhere in the world, Rotary clubs have adopted what we call the Rotary four-way test. And Diane mentioned earlier that we did a essay contest in the middle schools in our district for a number of years. And we haven't done it this year and the year before only because of limitations on both sides.
Yeah, we'll be getting back to it.
But the four-way test is recited and or thought about by Rotarians around the world at least once a week when they have their weekly meetings like this. And so our practice in our club is before I ring the bell to close the meeting officially, that we read or recite, if you know it, the ideas of the four-way test so that we can live a good life between now and next week. And so the test is 4 questions. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And I'm happy to say that I think that our Farmington School District is pretty much living day by day the four-way test of the things that they think say are good.
Absolutely.
So with that, meeting adjourned.
Thank you, everybody. That was fantastic as usual. Again, if you want to see the recording, it'll be available probably within a few hours.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity.
Yes, thank you. What a great
you.
way to start our day. What a great way. Thank you.
Thanks
Have a
again.
good day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks, Stan. That was good.
you're welcome.
Okay, it's just a second.
I've been a little off on my communications because of my computer issues over the last 2
No,
weeks.
no problem.
I think I'm back on an even keel. I think. But at any rate, have to readdress the pledge form and the
Oh,
budget
yes, please.
for the bridge walk.
Yep.
I've set up an event on Facebook for April 3rd. And
April 3rd, did you say?
April 3rd, yeah, it's a Saturday. And I'm going to do a practice walk in Shiawassee Park. And so I need to pretty much finalize our method of
Hold on one second. I got to go answer something.
yeah, that's fine.